The story of Bhutan begins with a bold declaration: gross national happiness, GNH, over gross domestic product, GDP. A tiny Himalayan kingdom, nestled between two of the world's most populous nations, India and China, Bhutan chose to follow a different path. While the rest of the world chases growth, Bhutan prioritizes happiness. This decision did not emerge from thin air. It was a deliberate, calculated move by a wise monarch who understood that well-being cannot be measured by wealth alone. And so began Bhutan's journey towards becoming the world's most unique nation, a beacon of happiness, sustainability, and cultural preservation. The foundation of this audacious philosophy was laid by the fourth king of Bhutan, Jigme Singye Wanchuk. In the 1970s, when most leaders were intoxicated with the promises of economic development, King Jigme envisioned something far more profound. He declared that the happiness of his people was more important than mere economic prosperity. This was not just a philosophical stance. It was a blueprint for nation-building that challenged the very idea of what constitutes success for a country. But why happiness? And why now? Bhutan's geography plays a pivotal role in this narrative. Isolated by the rugged terrain of the Himalayas, Bhutan was largely cut off from the world until the mid-20th century. This isolation allowed the country to develop a unique cultural identity, steeped in Buddhism and spiritual traditions that emphasize balance, mindfulness, and respect for nature. As the global economy began to boom, Bhutan's leaders saw the potential dangers of unbridled development. They witnessed the chaos, the environmental degradation, and the loss of cultural identity in other countries that blindly pursued GDP growth. King Jigme chose a different path for Bhutan, a path that would safeguard its environment, culture, and spiritual heritage. At the heart of Bhutan's vision are the four pillars of gross national happiness. These are not mere slogans. They are the lifeblood of Bhutan's policies and governance. The first pillar is sustainable development. Unlike many nations that exploit their natural resources for short-term gains, Bhutan aims for balanced economic growth that benefits both present and future generations. The second pillar is environmental conservation. Bhutan is perhaps the only country in the world that is carbon negative, absorbing more CO2 than it produces. This commitment is enshrined in its constitution, which mandates that at least 60% of the land must remain under forest cover at all times. The third pillar, cultural preservation, is about protecting Bhutan's unique identity. From the traditional dress code to the promotion of Dzongkha, Bhutan's national language, every policy is designed to keep its culture alive. Finally, the fourth pillar is good governance. For Bhutan, good governance is not just about transparency and accountability. It's about governing with compassion, empathy, and a focus on the well-being of its citizens. Yet, the world did not immediately understand or embrace Bhutan's approach. When King Jigme first articulated the idea of gross national happiness, many dismissed it as naive or idealistic. Economists scoffed at the notion that a country could prioritize happiness over growth. After all, isn't GDP the gold standard for measuring progress? But Bhutan held its ground. It wasn't interested in following the herd. Instead, it chose to be the shepherd, leading the way toward a more balanced, sustainable, and humane form of development. As Bhutan began to implement GNH in its policies, the results spoke for themselves. Literacy rates improved, healthcare became more accessible, and the country avoided the urban slums and environmental degradation that plagued so many developing nations. Bhutan was no utopia. It had its challenges, but it showed the world that there is another way. A way that does not sacrifice happiness at the altar of growth. The global community has slowly started to take notice. Today, Bhutan's philosophy of gross national happiness is no longer a quaint idea confined to a small kingdom. It has become a subject of serious discussion in international forums, a case study in business schools, and a model for sustainable development. Bhutan has proven that small nations can have big ideas, and those ideas can change the world. As Bhutan continues its journey, it serves as a reminder to the rest of us that growth for growth's sake is not progress. That true development must nurture the human spirit, protect our planet, and preserve our cultural heritage. And that in a world obsessed with more, sometimes the bravest choice is to seek better. Bhutan is not just different. Bhutan is visionary. It's a nation that dares to dream of a future where happiness, not wealth, is the ultimate measure of success. Imagine a world where the health of the environment is seen as inseparable from the well-being of its people. In Bhutan, this is not a mere fantasy. It is a reality meticulously crafted through policies and practices that put nature at the heart of the nation's identity. The story of Bhutan's environmental conservation is one of foresight and commitment, a story that began long before climate change became a global emergency. While other countries treated their natural resources as expendable commodities, Bhutan chose a different path. It chose to be a guardian of the earth. Bhutan's leaders have always understood the symbiotic relationship between people and nature. The country's decision to prioritize environmental conservation is rooted in its spiritual and cultural values, which emphasize harmony with nature. Bhutanese Buddhism teaches that every living thing, from the tiniest insect to the tallest tree, has a right to exist. This belief system has shaped the country's environmental policies, which are among the most progressive in the world. Bhutan has pledged to remain carbon neutral for all time, and it's not just an empty promise, it's backed by action. But what does it mean to be carbon neutral? For Bhutan, it means absorbing more carbon dioxide than the country emits. And they've gone beyond just achieving this status. They are carbon negative, a rare accomplishment in today's world. This is possible because of Bhutan's vast forests, which cover over 70% of the country. These forests act as a giant carbon sink, absorbing millions of tons of CO2 each year. The government has implemented strict laws to protect these forests, including a constitutional mandate to maintain a minimum of 60% forest cover for future generations. This level of commitment to conservation is almost unheard of globally. The environmental policies of Bhutan are deeply integrated into its national development strategy, proving that economic growth and environmental sustainability are not mutually exclusive. Hydroelectric power, derived from the fast-flowing rivers that cut through its mountainous terrain, is Bhutan's primary source of revenue. Yet, Bhutan is careful to balance economic interests with environmental stewardship. The country exports hydroelectric power to neighboring countries, but does so in a way that ensures minimal environmental disruption. The Bhutanese government takes pride in the fact that their rivers are not polluted, their forests not depleted, and their air is some of the cleanest in the world. The commitment to conservation goes beyond policies. It's woven into the everyday lives of the Bhutanese people. From schoolchildren planting trees to communities managing local forests, environmental stewardship is a collective effort. Take, for example, the annual Social Forestry Day, where Bhutanese citizens plant trees in honor of the fourth king's coronation. This event is more than a mere gesture. It is a living testament to Bhutan's enduring commitment to nature. While Bhutan's achievements are impressive, they are not without challenges. The country faces increasing pressure to modernize and develop rapidly. With globalization knocking at its door, Bhutan is at a crossroads. The temptation to exploit natural resources for short-term economic gain is ever present. However, Bhutanese leaders and citizens alike understand the value of long-term thinking. They realize that their unique environmental model can only be sustained through vigilance, dedication, and a collective commitment to their core values. As climate change continues to threaten the planet, Bhutan serves as an example to the world. It shows that a small country with limited resources can punch above its weight when it comes to environmental conservation. Bhutan's model is not just about saving forests or reducing carbon footprints. It's about creating a holistic approach to national well-being that considers the health of the environment as crucial as the health of its people. Global interest in Bhutan's model is growing. Countries facing the devastating impacts of climate change are beginning to look at Bhutan's approach as a viable alternative. International organizations, too, are taking notice, eager to learn how Bhutan has managed to achieve such a remarkable balance between development and conservation. Yet Bhutan does not claim to have all the answers. It remains a work in progress, a living experiment in sustainable development. For Bhutan, the journey towards environmental conservation is far from over. The country knows that it must constantly adapt to new challenges, innovate in the face of adversity, and stay true to its guiding principles. The story of Bhutan's commitment to the environment is not just a national narrative. it is a global call to action. It urges us all to reconsider what true progress looks like in a world where environmental degradation has become the norm. Bhutan's message is clear. Protect what you have, cherish what you inherit, and always think of the generations to come. Bhutan's cultural heritage is another cornerstone that sets it apart from the rest of the world. In an age where globalization often means homogenization, Bhutan has managed to retain its unique identity. The nation has not only preserved its traditions, but has woven them into the fabric of its governance and daily life. From the clothes people wear to the language they speak and the architecture that defines its landscapes, Bhutan's culture is not a relic of the past, but a living, breathing entity that evolves without losing its essence. The preservation of culture in Bhutan is not left to chance. It is deliberate, methodical, and built into the very framework of its national policies. The Bhutanese government has implemented measures to ensure that cultural preservation goes hand in hand with modern development. One of the most visible examples is the requirement that citizens wear the national dress, go for men and kira for women, when in public offices, schools, and on official occasions. This policy might seem restrictive to outsiders, but for Bhutanese, it is a source of pride, a daily reminder of their rich heritage and identity. Language is another key aspect of Bhutan's cultural preservation. Dzongkha, the national language, is taught in schools across the country, and efforts are continuously made to promote it in all spheres of life. Bhutan recognizes that language is more than just a means of communication. It is a vessel for the values, stories, and traditions that define a people. By maintaining and nurturing its language, Bhutan safeguards the continuity of its culture for future generations. However, the promotion of Dzongkha does not mean isolation. English is also widely spoken and serves as a medium of instruction in schools, demonstrating Bhutan's ability to balance tradition with the demands of a globalized world. Bhutan's architectural style is another testament to its commitment to cultural preservation. The country has a unique style of construction that uses traditional methods and materials, from the grand dzongs, fortresses, to the modest homes in rural villages. The Bhutanese government has strict guidelines that ensure all new buildings reflect this traditional architecture, maintaining the visual integrity of cities and towns. These guidelines are not merely about aesthetics. They are about maintaining a sense of continuity and identity in a rapidly changing world. Bhutan cities do not look like any other city in the world. They look distinctly Bhutanese, standing as a visual reminder of the nation's roots. Festivals in Bhutan are more than just celebrations. They are a reaffirmation of cultural values. Shekis, the annual religious festivals, are held in various districts and attract locals and tourists alike. These festivals, with their colorful dances, music, and spiritual rituals, are an immersive experience into Bhutanese culture. They serve as a communal gathering that strengthens the social fabric and reinforces the values that Bhutan holds dear. At a time when many cultures are losing their traditional practices, Bhutan's vibrant festival calendar is a powerful statement of cultural resilience. Yet, Bhutan's commitment to cultural preservation does not mean shutting itself off from the rest of the world. It carefully curates the influences it allows, adopting those that align with its values while rejecting those that threaten its cultural integrity. This approach has allowed Bhutan to embrace modern technology and education while ensuring that these advancements do not come at the cost of its cultural identity. The government and citizens alike are deeply aware that once cultural heritage is lost, it is nearly impossible to recover. As Bhutan continues to open up to the outside world, there is a growing recognition of the challenges that lie ahead. The internet, television, and other forms of media bring in influences that can sometimes conflict with traditional Bhutanese values. The younger generation, like youth everywhere, is increasingly exposed to global culture. The challenge for Bhutan will be to find the balance, embracing the benefits of modernization while staying true to the cultural foundations that have guided the nation for centuries. Bhutan's approach to cultural preservation offers valuable lessons to the world. It shows that modernization does not have to mean westernization. It demonstrates that a nation can progress without losing its soul. In a world where cultures are becoming increasingly diluted, Bhutan stands as a testament to the power of deliberate preservation and conscious evolution. It reminds us that our cultural roots are not burdens to be cast off in the name of progress, but treasures that enrich our lives and societies. Bhutan's cultural journey is not about resisting change. It is about guiding change in a way that honors the past, enriches the present, and inspires the future. One of Bhutan's most captivating qualities is its unique approach to governance, centered around the concept of gross national happiness, GNH. Unlike most nations that prioritize gross domestic product, GDP, as a measure of success, Bhutan measures its progress in terms of happiness and well-being. This revolutionary idea, introduced by the fourth king of Bhutan, King Jigme Singye Wanchuk, has become the guiding principle of the country's policies and development strategies. GNH is more than a slogan. It's a commitment to a holistic approach to development that prioritizes the spiritual, emotional, and cultural well-being of its people alongside economic growth. Gross national happiness is built on four main pillars: sustainable and equitable socio-economic development, preservation and promotion of cultural values, conservation of the natural environment, and good governance. These pillars are supported by 9 domains that include psychological well-being, health, education, time use, cultural diversity and resilience, good governance, community vitality, ecological diversity and resilience, and living standards. Each policy in Bhutan must undergo a rigorous GNH screening process to ensure that it aligns with these principles, ensuring that every decision made by the government contributes to the overall happiness of its citizens. This approach has led to several policy decisions that might seem unconventional to the rest of the world. For example, Bhutan restricts tourism to ensure that it does not overwhelm the country's natural and cultural resources. Instead of mass tourism, Bhutan promotes high-value, low-volume tourism, which means only a limited number of tourists are allowed to visit each year, and they must pay a daily sustainable development fee. This policy ensures that tourism in Bhutan is sustainable and beneficial to the country, rather than being driven solely by profit. The focus is on quality rather than quantity, allowing visitors to have a more meaningful experience while contributing positively to Bhutan's economy and culture. The emphasis on happiness and well-being extends to Bhutan's health and education systems. Education is free for all citizens, and there is a strong focus on traditional as well as modern subjects. Similarly, healthcare is also free, with the government investing heavily in the public health sector. This ensures that every Bhutanese citizen has access to quality education and healthcare, which are seen as fundamental rights rather than privileges. These policies reflect Bhutan's commitment to creating a society where economic development does not come at the expense of social and cultural well-being. Bhutan's political landscape is also shaped by its commitment to GNH. The country transitioned from an absolute monarchy to a democratic constitutional monarchy in 2008, a rare instance where a ruling monarch voluntarily relinquished absolute power. This move was driven by the belief that true happiness and development could only be achieved through active citizen participation in governance. Today, Bhutanese citizens actively engage in the democratic process, voting for their representatives and having a say in the governance of their country. This blend of tradition and modernity ensures that Bhutanese democracy is rooted in the country's unique values. However, implementing GNH is not without its challenges. As Bhutan opens up to the world, it faces the delicate task of balancing tradition with modernization. The influx of global media, technology, and ideas poses both opportunities and threats. The younger generation, growing up in a more interconnected world, often finds itself caught between the allure of modern lifestyles and the traditional values espoused by GNH. The government and society as a whole are working to navigate these challenges, ensuring that the principles of GNH continue to be relevant in a rapidly changing world. As the world grapples with unprecedented challenges like climate change, inequality, and social unrest, Bhutan's model of gross national happiness provides an alternative path. It asks us to reconsider what true progress looks like. Is it endless economic growth, often at the expense of social and environmental well-being? Or is it a balanced approach that takes into account the overall quality of life and the health of our planet? Bhutan's experience suggests that prioritizing happiness and well-being is not just a moral imperative, but a practical approach to sustainable development. Countries around the globe are beginning to take note. International delegations often visit Bhutan to learn about GNH and explore how elements of it can be adapted to their own contexts. Bhutan's emphasis on happiness has sparked conversations in academic, political, and economic circles worldwide. While no other country has yet adopted GNH in its entirety, the growing interest shows a shift in thinking about development and governance. Bhutan's experiment is proving that an alternative way of measuring success is not only possible but necessary. For Bhutan, the journey of gross national happiness is ongoing. It is a dynamic process that requires constant reflection, adaptation, and innovation. The country continues to refine its approach, aware that the world is watching. Bhutan's story is not just about being different. It's about daring to be different in a way that challenges conventional wisdom. It's a reminder that in a world dominated by economic metrics, there is room for a more compassionate and human-centered approach to progress. Bhutan's message is simple yet profound. True development happens when we remember to nurture the hearts and souls of our people, alongside their material needs. Bhutan's commitment to environmental conservation is another key factor that sets it apart from the rest of the world. At a time when climate change and environmental degradation are global crises, Bhutan stands out as a beacon of hope and action. It is the only country in the world that is not only carbon neutral, but actually carbon negative. This remarkable achievement is not by accident, but the result of a deliberate and sustained effort by both the government and the people of Bhutan to prioritize the environment in every aspect of their lives. The country's constitution mandates that at least 60% of its total land area remains under forest cover at all times. Currently, about 72% of Bhutan is covered by forests, which serve as a massive carbon sink, absorbing more carbon dioxide than the country emits. This is a monumental feat considering that many nations are struggling to even maintain their existing green spaces. Bhutan's forests are not just a source of pride, but are essential to the health of the planet. They play a critical role in regulating the climate, preserving biodiversity, and providing livelihoods for rural communities. Bhutan's commitment to the environment is further exemplified by its approach to renewable energy. The country has invested heavily in hydropower, which is its primary source of energy. Nearly all of Bhutan's electricity is generated through hydropower, making it one of the few countries in the world that can claim to be powered almost entirely by renewable energy. This not only reduces Bhutan's dependence on fossil fuels, but also allows it to export clean energy to neighboring countries, contributing to regional energy sustainability. Bhutan's environmental policies extend beyond just carbon reduction. The country is a leader in biodiversity conservation, with more than half of its land area designated as protected areas, including national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, and biological corridors. These protected areas are home to a rich variety of flora and fauna, some of which are endangered species. The Royal Manas National Park, Jigme Dorji National Park, and the Bumbling Wildlife Sanctuary are just a few examples of Bhutan's efforts to conserve its unique biodiversity. These areas are not just protected on paper. There are active programs for anti-poaching, sustainable tourism, and community-based conservation efforts that engage local populations in protecting their natural heritage. Another innovative approach Bhutan has adopted is the promotion of organic farming. In 2012, Bhutan announced its ambitious goal to become the world's first 100% organic nation. While this goal is still a work in progress, Bhutan has made significant strides in promoting organic farming practices among its farmers. The focus is on reducing the use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides and promoting sustainable agricultural practices that protect the soil, water, and overall ecosystem. This initiative is more than just an agricultural policy. It is a statement of Bhutan's commitment to sustainable living and food security. The Bhutanese government also actively participates in international climate dialogues and has made a strong case for more significant global action on climate change. Bhutan has positioned itself as a moral voice in these discussions, emphasizing that even small countries can make a big impact when it comes to environmental stewardship. The country's leaders have repeatedly called for larger, more developed nations to take more decisive action to combat climate change, arguing that the fate of small, vulnerable countries like Bhutan depends on the global community's collective efforts. However, Bhutan's environmental journey is not without its challenges. The impact of climate change is already being felt in Bhutan, with glaciers melting at an alarming rate and the frequency of extreme weather events increasing. These changes pose significant risks to Bhutan's hydropower infrastructure, agricultural production, and overall biodiversity. The government and various stakeholders are working tirelessly to build resilience against these threats, but it is a daunting task that requires constant vigilance, innovation, and international support. The youth of Bhutan are becoming increasingly involved in the country's environmental conservation efforts. Schools incorporate environmental education into their curricula, teaching students the importance of preserving their natural heritage. Environmental clubs, community cleanup campaigns, and reforestation projects are common activities. The younger generation, while aware of the allure of modernization, seems equally committed to carrying forward Bhutan's legacy of environmental stewardship. They are the torchbearers of a philosophy that recognizes the environment not just as a resource to be exploited, but as a life-giving entity that sustains both body and soul. Bhutan's approach to environmental conservation offers a powerful lesson to the world. Protecting the environment is not just about policies and regulations. It is about a mindset, a way of life. Bhutan has shown that a nation does not have to choose between development and conservation. They can go hand in hand. Bhutan is not only a small country with big ideas, but also a small country that turns those ideas into action. It reminds us that sustainability is not a destination, but a continuous journey, one that requires commitment, innovation, and the courage to be different. As Bhutan continues to navigate the challenges and opportunities of the modern world, its environmental ethos remains a guiding star. The country's story is an inspiring example of how even a small nation, with limited resources, can lead by example on the world stage. Bhutan challenges us to rethink our relationship with the environment and shows us that the path to a sustainable future is not about grand declarations, but about the daily choices we make to honor and protect our natural world. One of the most intriguing aspects of Bhutan's uniqueness lies in its cultural preservation and the deeply rooted traditions that continue to thrive in the modern world. Bhutan's culture is a vibrant tapestry woven from centuries of history, spirituality, and a profound connection to its land and people. Unlike many countries that have rapidly modernized, often at the expense of cultural erosion, Bhutan has taken a conscious and deliberate approach to safeguard its heritage. This commitment to cultural preservation is evident in every facet of Bhutanese life, from the traditional architecture of its dzongs, fortresses, and homes to its national dress, language, and religious practices. Bhutan's policy of cultural preservation is not just about maintaining the past. It's about integrating these traditions into the modern identity of the nation. The national dress, for example, is not merely a relic of the past, but a symbol of national identity and pride. The go for men and the kira for women are worn by Bhutanese in their daily lives, especially in schools, government offices, and religious institutions. These garments are more than clothing. They are an embodiment of Bhutanese values and a visual reminder of the country's commitment to its cultural roots. Language is another cornerstone of Bhutan's cultural identity. Dzongkha, the national language, is a unifying force that connects the diverse communities across the country. However, Bhutan is home to multiple languages and dialects, reflecting its rich cultural diversity. The government actively promotes Dzongkha while also recognizing and preserving the linguistic heritage of other communities. This delicate balance between fostering a unified national identity and respecting local diversity is a hallmark of Bhutanese cultural policy. Religion plays a central role in Bhutanese society, with Buddhism being the state religion. The country is dotted with monasteries, stupas, and prayer flags that flutter in the wind, creating a landscape that is both spiritually and visually striking. The influence of Buddhism permeates all aspects of Bhutanese life, shaping its values, laws, and daily practices. Festivals, or chekas, are held annually across the country, celebrating the teachings of Guru Rinpoche, the founder of Bhutanese Buddhism. These vibrant festivals are not only religious events but also serve as a means of preserving Bhutan's performing arts, including masked dances, folk songs, and rituals passed down through generations. Bhutan's emphasis on cultural preservation extends to its arts and crafts, collectively known as Dzorg Chusum, or the 13 traditional arts. These arts include woodwork, painting, weaving, sculpture, and more. They are an essential part of Bhutanese identity, and the government has established institutions like the National Institute for Zorg Chusum to ensure these skills are taught and passed on to future generations. The result is a thriving community of artisans who create works that are not only beautiful, but also carry deep cultural and spiritual significance. The built environment in Bhutan is another testament to its commitment to cultural preservation. Traditional Bhutanese architecture is characterized by intricate woodwork, sloped roofs, and whitewashed walls adorned with Buddhist motifs. Dzongs, which serve as both religious and administrative centers, are iconic symbols of Bhutanese culture. Even modern buildings in Bhutan are required to adhere to traditional architectural styles, ensuring that the country's cities and towns retain their unique character. This blending of the old with the new creates a harmonious aesthetic that is both functional and deeply rooted in Bhutanese identity. However, Bhutan's commitment to cultural preservation is not without challenges. As the country becomes more connected to the outside world, it faces the pressures of globalization, which often leads to cultural homogenization. The younger generation, exposed to global media and modern lifestyles, is increasingly finding itself at a crossroads between traditional values and contemporary aspirations. The government and society are actively engaging in dialogues to find ways to navigate these complexities, ensuring that modernization does not come at the expense of Bhutanese culture. One of the innovative approaches Bhutan has adopted is the integration of cultural education in its school curricula. Students are taught not only modern subjects but also the importance of their cultural heritage, values, and traditions. This educational approach aims to create a generation that is both globally aware and deeply rooted in its cultural identity. Schools often celebrate local festivals, encourage traditional sports like archery, and teach students the significance of Bhutanese arts and crafts, providing a holistic education that nurtures both mind and spirit. Bhutan's story of cultural preservation is a reminder that cultural heritage is not a static relic of the past, but a living, breathing aspect of national identity that evolves with time. Bhutan demonstrates that it is possible to embrace the benefits of modernization while holding steadfast to one's cultural roots. In a rapidly changing world, Bhutan's approach offers valuable lessons on how to cultivate a sense of belonging and continuity amid the tides of change. As Bhutan continues its journey of balancing tradition and modernity, it serves as an inspiring example of cultural resilience. Its story is not just about protecting buildings, languages, or rituals, but about preserving the spirit of a people. Bhutan challenges us to rethink what it means to be modern in the 21st century, suggesting that true progress is not just about economic development, but also about maintaining a deep connection to one's cultural and spiritual roots. Bhutan's message is clear. In the quest for progress, we must not forget who we are and where we come from. Bhutan's distinctiveness is also deeply intertwined with its unique approach to governance, which blends elements of traditional monarchy with modern democratic principles. The country transitioned from an absolute monarchy to a constitutional monarchy in 2008, a move initiated by the fourth king, Jigme Sinji Wangchuk. This peaceful transition to democracy is unlike any other in the world, driven not by popular demand or political upheaval, but by a visionary monarch who believed that empowering his people was the path to a more sustainable and harmonious future. Bhutan's political transformation is grounded in its philosophy of gross national happiness, GNH, which prioritizes the well-being and happiness of its citizens over mere economic growth. This concept was first articulated by the fourth king in the 1970s and has since been institutionalized into the country's governance framework. GNH is not a slogan or a vague ideal. It is a comprehensive approach to governance that encompasses four pillars: sustainable and equitable socio-economic development, conservation of the environment, preservation and promotion of culture, and good governance. The principles of GNH are integrated into Bhutan's policies and decision-making processes at all levels. Every policy is evaluated for its impact on the well-being of the Bhutanese people, ensuring that economic development does not come at the cost of social, cultural, or environmental degradation. For instance, while other countries might prioritize GDP growth, Bhutan places a higher value on initiatives that improve the quality of life, community vitality, and environmental sustainability. This approach ensures that development is holistic and inclusive, reflecting the needs and aspirations of all Bhutanese citizens. The democratic process in Bhutan is unique and deeply rooted in the country's values and context. The country has a bicameral parliamentary system consisting of the National Council and the National Assembly. The National Council acts as a nonpartisan body that provides checks and balances, while the National Assembly is composed of members elected by the people through political parties. The monarchy, while no longer wielding absolute power, still plays a vital role in the country's governance. The king is highly revered and serves as a unifying figure who guides the nation's development in alignment with Bhutanese values. Elections in Bhutan are a testament to the country's careful balance between tradition and modernity. The Bhutanese electoral process is characterized by its focus on maintaining harmony and avoiding divisiveness. Political campaigns are conducted with dignity and respect, with strict regulations in place to prevent smear campaigns, hate speech, or excessive commercialization. The focus is on policy debates and discussions that genuinely reflect the needs and aspirations of the Bhutanese people. This approach has allowed Bhutan to develop a political culture that is constructive and forward-looking. Despite Bhutan's commitment to a unique form of governance, challenges remain. The country's transition to democracy is still relatively young, and there is a need to build a robust civil society that can engage constructively with the government. Moreover, as Bhutan becomes more connected to the global community, it faces external pressures and influences that could affect its governance model. Issues such as economic dependency, regional geopolitics, and social change require Bhutan to constantly adapt and evolve its approach to governance while staying true to its core values. The role of youth in Bhutan's democratic process is also becoming increasingly significant. Young Bhutanese are more educated and globally aware than previous generations, thanks in part to the country's efforts to expand access to education and technology. However, they are also eager for more opportunities to participate in the country's development and decision-making processes. The government and civil society organizations are actively engaging with young people, recognizing their potential to contribute fresh ideas and energy to Bhutan's unique path of development. In recent years, Bhutan has made efforts to decentralize governance, empowering local communities to take a more active role in decision-making. This approach ensures that development is more responsive to local needs and conditions, fostering a sense of ownership and accountability among the people. Local governments, known as juwags, are now responsible for implementing many of the policies and programs that directly impact their communities, from education and healthcare to infrastructure and cultural preservation. Bhutan's commitment to good governance extends beyond its borders. The country is an active participant in regional and international organizations, where it advocates for sustainable development, environmental conservation, and peaceful coexistence. Bhutan's voice on the global stage is one of moral authority, often calling on larger, more developed nations to reconsider their development models and take more responsibility for the global commons. Bhutan's leadership in these forums is a reflection of its own values and its aspiration to be a positive force in the world. As Bhutan continues to refine its governance model, it serves as an example of how tradition and modernity can be harmoniously integrated. The country's approach challenges conventional notions of development and governance, suggesting that there is more to progress than economic indicators. Bhutan shows us that true development is about creating a society where people can live in harmony with each other and with the environment, where happiness is a legitimate goal of public policy, and where governance is a means to uphold the values and aspirations of the people. Bhutan's story is far from over. As it navigates the complexities of the modern world, it remains committed to its unique path of governance, one that blends wisdom from its past with innovation for its future. Bhutan invites the world to reconsider what it means to be a successful nation, reminding us that the true measure of a country's progress is not its wealth, but the well-being and happiness of its people. Bhutan's approach to economic development offers a distinctive perspective that challenges conventional paradigms. Unlike many nations that prioritize rapid economic growth and industrialization, Bhutan's economic strategy is deeply intertwined with its cultural values, environmental stewardship, and commitment to gross national happiness, GNH. This approach emphasizes quality of life and holistic well-being over mere financial metrics, positioning Bhutan as a unique case study in sustainable development. One of the cornerstones of Bhutan's economic model is its focus on high-value, low-impact industries. Tourism is a prime example. Bhutan's tourism policy is designed to protect the country's cultural and natural heritage while providing economic benefits. Rather than pursuing mass tourism, Bhutan adopts a high-value, low-impact approach. This strategy ensures that tourism contributes positively to the economy without overwhelming the country's delicate ecosystems or cultural sites. Visitors are required to pay a minimum daily tariff, which includes accommodation, meals, and a guide, thereby ensuring that tourism remains both sustainable and beneficial to local communities. The country's commitment to sustainable development is also evident in its agricultural policies. Bhutan's agricultural sector focuses on organic farming and traditional practices that support environmental conservation. The government's goal to become the world's first 100% organic nation reflects its dedication to creating a sustainable food system that respects both the environment and cultural traditions. By promoting organic farming, Bhutan reduces its reliance on synthetic chemicals, protects soil health, and supports biodiversity. This approach not only aligns with Bhutan's environmental goals, but also enhances food security and resilience against climate change. Another key aspect of Bhutan's economic strategy is its emphasis on renewable energy. The country's abundant hydropower resources provide a clean, sustainable energy source that supports both domestic needs and regional cooperation. Bhutan exports a significant portion of its hydropower-generated electricity to neighboring countries, such as India. This not only supports Bhutan's economy, but also contributes to regional energy security and sustainability. The development of hydropower projects is carefully managed to balance economic benefits with environmental protection, ensuring that the country's natural resources are used responsibly. Bhutan's unique economic model also includes a focus on education and health. The government invests heavily in these sectors to ensure that all Bhutanese citizens have access to quality services. Education is seen as a vital component of personal and national development. Bhutanese schools emphasize both traditional and modern subjects, integrating environmental and cultural education into their curricula. Healthcare is provided free of charge to all citizens, reflecting the country's commitment to the well-being of its people. This investment in education and health contributes to a higher quality of life and supports the broader goals of gross national happiness. Bhutan's approach to economic development is further demonstrated through its emphasis on community-based projects. Local communities play a central role in implementing development initiatives, from infrastructure projects to conservation efforts. This participatory approach ensures that development projects are tailored to the needs and priorities of local people, fostering a sense of ownership and accountability. Community-based projects often focus on preserving traditional practices, promoting sustainable livelihoods, and enhancing local resilience. For example, community forestry programs allow local communities to manage and benefit from forest resources, supporting both environmental conservation and economic development. Despite its unique approach, Bhutan faces challenges in its economic development journey. The country's small size and limited natural resources mean that it must navigate issues such as economic diversification and vulnerability to external shocks. Additionally, the transition to a modern economy, while maintaining traditional values, requires careful management. Bhutan must balance the benefits of modernization with the need to preserve its cultural heritage and environmental integrity. One of Bhutan's key strategies for addressing these challenges is its focus on innovation and adaptability. The government actively supports research and development in areas such as sustainable agriculture, renewable energy, and technology. By fostering innovation, Bhutan aims to find new solutions to its economic and environmental challenges, ensuring that its development model remains relevant and effective. Bhutan's economic model also emphasizes the importance of international cooperation. The country engages with global organizations and partners to share its experiences and learn from others. Bhutan's participation in international forums on climate change, sustainable development, and cultural preservation allows it to contribute to global discussions while gaining insights and support for its own initiatives. This collaborative approach enhances Bhutan's ability to address complex challenges and achieve its development goals. Bhutan's economic development strategy is a reflection of its broader values and principles. By prioritizing sustainability, cultural preservation, and the well-being of its people, Bhutan offers a unique model of development that challenges conventional approaches. The country's focus on high-value industries, renewable energy, community-based projects, and investment in education and health demonstrates a commitment to holistic progress that goes beyond mere economic growth. Bhutan's experience provides valuable lessons for other nations seeking to balance development with sustainability and cultural integrity. As Bhutan continues to navigate its path to prosperity, its approach serves as an inspiring example of how economic development can align with broader goals of happiness, environmental stewardship, and cultural preservation. Bhutan's approach to environmental conservation is a fundamental aspect of its national identity and development strategy. The country's commitment to preserving its natural environment is not just a policy, but a deeply ingrained value that influences every aspect of life in Bhutan. This dedication to environmental stewardship is reflected in Bhutan's remarkable achievements in areas such as conservation, sustainability, and climate action. One of the most notable aspects of Bhutan's environmental policy is its status as a carbon-negative country. Bhutan absorbs more carbon dioxide through its forests and other natural processes than it emits through its activities. This achievement is a result of the country's extensive reforestation efforts, sustainable land management practices, and the conservation of its rich biodiversity. Bhutan's forests cover approximately 70% of its land area, making it one of the most forested countries in the world. These forests not only act as carbon sinks, but also provide vital habitats for a diverse range of species. The preservation of Bhutan's biodiversity is a key priority for the government. The country is home to several protected areas, including national parks and wildlife sanctuaries, that safeguard its unique flora and fauna. Bhutan's conservation efforts have been successful in protecting endangered species such as the Bengal tiger, snow leopard, and black-necked crane. The government works closely with local communities to promote sustainable practices and prevent poaching and habitat destruction. Conservation programs often involve community participation, ensuring that local people are actively engaged in protecting their natural heritage. Bhutan's commitment to environmental sustainability extends to its approach to development. The country integrates environmental considerations into all aspects of its planning and decision-making processes. For example, Bhutan's infrastructure projects are designed to minimize their impact on the environment. The government enforces strict environmental regulations and conducts thorough environmental impact assessments before approving major projects. This approach ensures that development proceeds in a way that is compatible with Bhutan's environmental goals and values. Renewable energy is another area where Bhutan's environmental commitment is evident. The country's extensive hydropower resources provide a clean, renewable source of energy that supports both domestic needs and regional cooperation. Bhutan's hydropower projects are developed with a strong focus on environmental sustainability. The government ensures that these projects are designed to minimize their impact on river ecosystems and local communities. By exporting excess hydropower to neighboring countries, Bhutan also contributes to regional efforts to reduce reliance on fossil fuels and promote clean energy. Bhutan's environmental policies are closely aligned with its cultural values. The country's deep reverence for nature is reflected in its traditional practices and spiritual beliefs. Bhutanese culture places a strong emphasis on living in harmony with the natural world, and this philosophy is embedded in everyday life. Festivals, rituals, and ceremonies often celebrate the beauty and significance of nature, reinforcing the connection between people and their environment. Education plays a crucial role in Bhutan's environmental conservation efforts. The government integrates environmental education into school curricula to raise awareness among young people about the importance of protecting the environment. Students learn about Bhutan's natural resources, conservation practices, and the impact of human activities on the environment. This education helps to foster a sense of responsibility and stewardship among future generations, ensuring that Bhutan's environmental values are passed on to the next generation. Bhutan's approach to climate change is another area where its environmental commitment is evident. The country has developed a comprehensive climate strategy that includes measures to mitigate and adapt to the impacts of climate change. Bhutan's climate policy focuses on reducing greenhouse gas emissions, enhancing climate resilience, and promoting sustainable development. The government actively participates in international climate negotiations and contributes to global efforts to address climate change. The country's efforts to combat climate change are supported by a range of initiatives and programs. For example, Bhutan has implemented projects to enhance the resilience of its agriculture sector to climate-related risks, such as changing rainfall patterns and temperature extremes. These projects include the development of climate-resilient crop varieties, improved irrigation systems, and sustainable farming practices. By addressing the impacts of climate change on agriculture, Bhutan aims to ensure food security and support the livelihoods of its rural communities. Bhutan's environmental achievements have garnered international recognition and respect. The country has received numerous awards and accolades for its conservation efforts and commitment to sustainability. Bhutan's example serves as an inspiration to other nations, demonstrating that it is possible to achieve economic development while maintaining a strong commitment to environmental protection. However, Bhutan's environmental journey is not without challenges. The country faces ongoing pressures from climate change, natural disasters, and the impacts of development. As Bhutan continues to grow and develop, it must navigate these challenges while staying true to its environmental values. The government remains vigilant and proactive in addressing emerging issues and adapting its policies to changing circumstances. Bhutan's approach to environmental conservation is a testament to its commitment to preserving its natural heritage and promoting sustainability. The country's achievements in areas such as carbon neutrality, biodiversity protection, and renewable energy are a reflection of its deep-rooted values and innovative policies. Bhutan's environmental policies are integrated into all aspects of its development strategy, ensuring that progress is made in harmony with nature. As Bhutan continues its journey towards a sustainable future, its example offers valuable lessons for the global community on how to achieve development while respecting and protecting the environment. Bhutan's unique approach to culture and traditions is a significant factor that distinguishes it from the rest of the world. The country's rich cultural heritage is not just preserved, but actively integrated into its modern governance and daily life. Bhutan's cultural policies and practices reflect its deep respect for tradition while adapting to contemporary challenges, offering a model of how cultural preservation and modernization can coexist harmoniously. One of the most striking aspects of Bhutanese culture is its commitment to preserving traditional arts and crafts. Bhutan's cultural heritage is manifested in its vibrant festivals, intricate handicrafts, and ancient architectural styles. The government has established various programs and institutions to support and promote traditional arts, such as weaving, wood carving, and painting. For example, the Bhutan Textile Museum and the National Institute for Zorg Chusum are dedicated to preserving and teaching traditional Bhutanese arts. These institutions not only safeguard cultural practices, but also provide economic opportunities for artisans and craftsmen, ensuring that traditional skills continue to thrive. Festivals play a central role in Bhutanese culture and offer a vivid display of the country's traditions. Festivals such as Tsekis, which are held in different regions throughout the year, are characterized by colorful processions, traditional dances, and religious rituals. These festivals are not only a celebration of Bhutanese culture, but also a means of reinforcing community bonds and passing down cultural values. The festivals attract visitors from around the world, providing a platform for cultural exchange and showcasing Bhutan's unique heritage. Bhutan's cultural policies extend beyond the preservation of traditional arts to encompass broader aspects of cultural identity. The government actively promotes the use of the national language, Dzongkha, in education, media, and public life. This emphasis on linguistic heritage helps maintain a sense of national identity and cultural continuity. Additionally, Bhutan's education system incorporates cultural studies into its curricula, ensuring that students are educated about their own heritage and the significance of cultural practices. The architectural heritage of Bhutan is another area where traditional and modern elements intersect. Bhutanese architecture is renowned for its distinctive style, characterized by elaborate wooden carvings, traditional Bhutanese motifs, and the use of local materials. This architectural style is evident in Bhutan's monasteries, dzongs, fortresses, and traditional homes. The government has implemented regulations to ensure that new constructions adhere to traditional architectural standards, preserving the aesthetic and cultural integrity of Bhutan's built environment. Despite its commitment to tradition, Bhutan is not immune to the influences of modernization. The country's approach to modernity is guided by a principle of balance, where progress is pursued in a manner that respects and preserves cultural values. This balance is evident in Bhutan's efforts to integrate modern technology and infrastructure while maintaining traditional practices. For example, Bhutan has embraced digital technology and e-governance to improve public services and access to information, while simultaneously safeguarding its cultural heritage through initiatives such as digital archiving and online promotion of traditional arts. One of Bhutan's notable achievements in cultural preservation is the development of the National Cultural Heritage Policy. This policy outlines the framework for preserving and promoting Bhutan's cultural heritage, including tangible and intangible aspects such as traditions, rituals, and oral histories. The policy emphasizes the involvement of local communities in cultural preservation efforts, ensuring that cultural practices are maintained by those who are directly connected to them. This participatory approach helps ensure that cultural preservation is not merely a top-down initiative, but a collaborative effort that reflects the values and aspirations of the Bhutanese people. The role of the monarchy in Bhutan's cultural preservation cannot be overstated. The royal family is deeply involved in the promotion and protection of Bhutanese culture. The fourth king, Jigme Sinji Wangchuk, and the current fifth king, Jigme Kesar Namgyel Wangchuk, have both played pivotal roles in championing cultural initiatives and supporting traditional practices. Their leadership has been instrumental in fostering a national identity that celebrates Bhutan's heritage while embracing positive aspects of modernization. Bhutan's cultural approach also extends to its interactions with the global community. The country actively engages in cultural diplomacy, sharing its heritage with the world through exhibitions, cultural exchanges, and international collaborations. Bhutan's participation in global cultural events and organizations helps promote understanding and appreciation of its unique culture on the international stage. However, Bhutan faces challenges in maintaining its cultural heritage amid rapid changes and globalization. The influx of modern influences and the pressures of economic development pose risks to traditional practices and cultural values. To address these challenges, Bhutan is focusing on strengthening its cultural policies and ensuring that cultural preservation remains a priority in its development plans. The government is also working to raise awareness about the importance of cultural heritage among younger generations, ensuring that traditional values are passed down and continue to play a central role in Bhutanese society. Bhutan's approach to cultural preservation and modernization is a testament to its commitment to maintaining its unique identity while adapting to contemporary realities. The country's efforts to protect and promote traditional arts, architecture, and practices reflect a deep respect for its heritage and a recognition of the importance of cultural continuity. Bhutan's model demonstrates that it is possible to navigate the challenges of modernization while honoring and preserving cultural traditions. As Bhutan continues to embrace both tradition and progress, its example offers valuable insights into how societies can balance cultural preservation with the demands of the modern world. Don't forget to subscribe for more contents and like the video.